triangles on a roll. Have you used them before? I have actually had the triangles on a roll from a Sew Sampler box for a very long time. This is one that is for 1-inch finished half square triangles, and it is tiny, tiny, tiny. I've been so scared to use it because I'm like, that seems like it's going to be so hard to get these nice and perfect. But in my Open Gate quilt box, I got this bigger triangle on a roll for a project. So I'm like, I'm ready to give this a try now. So come along with me and see what I end up thinking of these triangles on a roll. Are half square triangles easier with them? We'll find out. Okay, so here is how the triangles on a roll paper look. And it actually has all the instructions for you as well. It starting with cut fabrics 9.5 inches wide by desired length. Since it's on a roll, you could end up doing a ton of these half square triangles if you have a longer piece of fabric. So then it says layer 2 fabrics right sides together. So I have my fabrics right sides together. They are solid, so you know, that is what it is. Then it says to pin the paper on top, follow arrows, sew on dashed line using a 1.5 stitch length. This is so that it's easier to pull the papers off afterward. And then you're going to cut along all of the solid lines. So I'm going to lay this on. My fabric is cut a little bit larger, but that's good because it'll give us space to sew and not have to worry about the paper shifting off of the fabric. So I'm going to put a few pins in to hold this in place. So like I said, I am doing the projects from one of the Open Gate quilt boxes, and it can be made into a table runner or a pillow. I am doing the pillow like the one pictured here. So this is the project. I'm making a ton of pinwheels here. And I'm actually doing this exact same thing in 3 different colors. So I have everything all prepped to be able to do that. So I'm going to go to the sewing machine and I'm going to follow the arrows going along here. And it looks like I'll come back through and then I'll need to do it on the other side. So it seems actually pretty straightforward. So we'll see how it turns out. All right, so the stitching on these larger triangles on a roll, that will be 3.5 inch finished. There you can see kind of what the stitching pattern looks like. Kind of fun quilting, wouldn't it be? So there are those 3. So I'm going to go through and cut each one of them. So what I'm going to do is kind of cut along the outside solid line first. So I'm just going to line my ruler right up with this dark line and cut along it. So the end here doesn't have a real bold line that you can see, but I'm just going to line my ruler up with the end of the paper and cut there. So turn again. Just keep cutting off the outside edge. All right, and so now I'm going to cut right down the middle of this. And you can really cut this probably any way that you would like. I don't think there's a rule to how to cut this, but I'm going to kind of line it up so that I can cut right along these 3 lines, both sides together. All right, and now I'm going to cut along the solid line that way. Here, and then I have just 2 more going the opposite direction. And of course, if you want, you could cut these individually so you don't have to worry about them not being lined up properly. That would just be up to you. But now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, so 16 half square triangles. So now what would happen is just pulling off these papers. I find it easiest if you kind of crease them first. And this is just from when I've done paper piecing. And there is the half square triangle. So I will press all these to the darker side after I get them all cut, so I can just press them all at once. But you can see it makes a really nice half square triangle doing it this way. So once I get them all pressed and start piecing this together, I'll kind of be able to give more thoughts on it to see if they're nice and even, everything like that. But right now I think it's looking pretty good. So I'm going to get the rest of these cut, papers pulled off, and then we'll meet back here to see the layout for this pillow from the Open Gate Quilts box. Okay, so I have all the half square triangles trimmed and pressed, and so now I'm going to start sewing them into pinwheels. So I'm just gonna get them all sorted and arranged by color on my design boards, and then sew them all together. So at this step, if you are using these triangles on a roll, you would just use them as needed for your pattern that you are putting together. So there are my pinwheels in the aqua, so I'm going to do the same with the orange and the purple. Look at how perfect these points on this pinwheel turned out, and it just isn't just one. Look, so many of them just look so good. I'm actually really impressed with how well these pinwheels turned out. So I'm just gonna follow the pattern for the Open Gate Quilts pillow and put these together. But before I do that, I want to look at the triangles on a roll, the 1-inch finished half square triangles, because those other ones turned out so good. I can't wait to see how well they turn out for these tiny, tiny ones. So what do you think? Let's sew it. So I'm going to do the same thing, follow the arrow on this dotted line, and then after I get to the very end, I'm just going to come back the other way. And these are just 2 jelly rolls pinned together, right sides together. So just like that. I can't wait to see if these tiny, 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 tiny little ones turn out good as well. So I'm going to get to sewing it. All right, so I have it all sewn, and here's kind of what it looks like. You can see it better on the back. Now, for this one, I'm actually thinking I'm going to cut it into smaller sections. So you can see here, the end doesn't cover this whole section of the half square triangles. So I'm just going to cut that off. And then I'm going to start by just working with 4 at a time because I want to make sure I keep it a manageable size for me. So I'm just going to again cut on those solid lines. And then you'd want to cut on the solid line that is along the diagonal as well. Okay, so you would, of course, cut the entire strip, but I want to take a look at how the half square triangles are looking. So I'm going to fold back the paper, kind of to crease it, hopefully make it a little easier to rip off. Look how tiny. All right, look how cute these little tiny half square triangles are. So like I said, they will finish at 1 inch. And I used a jelly roll strip, well, 2 jelly roll strips, the length of the width of fabric. And I was able to get 60 out of that length. They're just so adorable. I can't stop looking at them. So I'm going to finish all these up. But before I do that, I am going to tell you what I think about these. So I still have a ton more papers on this roll. You're able to make 630 half square triangles. I mean, it's a pretty sizable roll of these, this pattern. So I think you'll get a decent amount out of it. It looks like this roll cost about $12.75. So it is an added expense to your project. You know, I think for me, I would probably honestly use them again. It was a lot easier than having to trim the half square triangles myself. It was really easy to follow everything. And they turn out really, really cute. I think especially for these smaller sizes, it will really take a lot of the stress out of making them. You know, some of the larger ones are a little bit easier to do. Even so, even the larger ones, you can see they come out really perfect without any fussing or stressing over trimming the half square triangles down yourself afterward. So, you know, I think it just depends on what value you see in adding that extra cost of purchasing these if you need to make half square triangles. It does look like they're available in a lot of sizes. So if you have a project coming up with half square triangles, maybe give them a try. I'll put a link down in the comments where you can go and purchase some of these. I thought it was a lot of fun using them, and I would definitely recommend at least trying them at least once to see if you like them for your own project. All right, let me know in the comments what you think. Are you going to give them a try? Have you tried them already? And until next time, bye.